to class 3 of Spirit School, all about crystals. We are making our way through these classes and they are so exciting. Of course, when I'm recording them out of order, but I am just as excited about all of the content and wisdom that lives through this. As you know, time is not linear, so everything that we need to receive drops into our awareness whenever we need them. I have another very special guest for us here today, and it's the beautiful Adele Mehmet, who used to be the Conscious Foodie, but he is now stepping into this beautiful lioness energy. What is it actually called?
The lioness.
The lioness.
Yes. So you're right, the lioness. I was the Conscious Foodie.
And stepping into this new beautiful energy. And the good thing about, me witnessing someone who allows for the evolution is acknowledging that that's just life. We are ever evolving, and our energy will shift, and our intentions will shift, and our persona will shift. And if you with life, watch how quickly life surprises you, right? And offers you the blessings and the wisdoms and, the new beginnings and the new pathways. So I'm very excited. Now, just to offer some context as to why I thought it was fitting for Adele to be here for this specific call, is that Adele creates these beautiful hair clips. I have a bunch of them. My sister has a bunch of them right there. And they are always used not only with love, but they're adorned by beautiful crystals. Okay. Also, she uses a lot of earth medicine too. So shells and little things and trinkets that she finds, but they are adorned with crystals. And of course, crystals power and intention, and we will get all into that today, but that's why when I was really thinking about who I wanted to call into this space, it wasn't just someone who works with crystals or knows about crystals. It was someone who has actually used them in practice, and I think that that's very important, and who honors them and recognizes their powerful force. So thank you for being here, Adele.
Thank you. That was such a beautiful intro. Well, that was not even just the intro. That was just beautiful for everyone listening. Thank you. I'm excited.
I'm excited too. So before we, I like to ease everyone that's watching in Spirit School into the session. So let's start at the beginning. What got you into using crystals in your own art?
Okay, so hairdressing is my background. So I was not really working like fully in the spiritual, I'd say, realm, but because I am of that nature, when I was hairdressing, so full-time, about maybe 5 years ago now, straight after I was qualified, I was just working straight on the crown chakra. And that's probably one of the only industries that is doing that like all day, every day. And I was just picking up on so much. And I was like, wow, this is powerful. Like, this is a powerful part of the body. This is like a place where people are staying at a place where people are almost living in a lot in their minds and in this space. Anyway, so I was picking up, and it was one specific point where it was a client, and I actually cried because I just seen so much and I felt so much, and I was like, wow, this is so much, and I didn't know how to deal with it, and I ended up leaving my job. And then after that, it was born, the crystal clips were born, because I thought, I was speaking with Mum, which you guys would listen to on the other
the tinctures class.
On the tinctures class, yes. And I was like, how can I make a tool where I can go to work and I can work with people physically, spiritually, and in every form, and feel protected and feel like I can bring out their best at the same time. So I'm working with them, but it's kind of like I'm not giving too much. And it was like all these things were happening because I was feeling so overwhelmed. So anyway, I've always had crystals since I was a little girl because of Mum, and she brought me into the whole industry of the crystal world. And I started slowly picking up crystals, and then I thought I'm going to make hair clips with them. And I just did it. And straight away, I made one piece, and then I wore it, and I felt like I had my own secret weapon to bring with me, like hidden. It wasn't always even just on the hair. I was putting it in my bra, and I was putting it in my pockets, and I was just clipping it anywhere. And it brought me so much like just joy to be able to have something that's mine, that's like radiating beautiful energy in and out. Definitely black tourmaline was one of the crystals that I first had at that time, because I was like, I need something that's giving me that protection, that grounding while I'm giving so much. So you tell me if I'm talking too much on this, but that is where a little part of how it began.
That's so perfect. That's so perfect. So we have a workbook available with this class. So everything that we discussed today will be available in the workbook, and there'll be a series of questions and activities that you can engage in to really get the most out of these classes. So I think that Adele brought up something that's very important that I just want to touch on. And she talked about the crown chakra and how, you know, essentially hairdressers work on the crown chakra, or anyone that engages in head massages or working on any kind of, you know, it's the crown chakra. Now, our body has a chakra system, and so does our energetic body, right? It has, you know, there's 7 considered within the body and 7 above the body as well, right? Now, the earth also has its own chakra system, right? Which means that crystals that come directly from the earth hold vibration and frequency, okay? They are condensed spaces of energy. And Adele will talk more about that in a minute. But my point is that to balance energy, we will be called intuitively for the medicine, okay? Now, the earth creates naturally all of the necessary medicines required to reach an internal and external state of balance, okay? As I've mentioned in many of the classes, we are always naturally drawn to a place of equilibrium, okay? Whether it's within the body, whether it's the community, whether it's the country, whether it's the earth, whether it's the universe, okay? And the remedies are always found within nature, okay? Nature, for those of you, just a quick, tiny, we're going on a little bit of a woo-woo, but, you know, I know Adele is receptive to all of the woo-woo, so it works, right? Essentially, we are of source being the origin, okay? And that origin wanted to know who it could be, and so it asked itself the critical question, who could I be? And in order to know who it could be, it needed to become infinity, right? It needed to become all possibilities. So the first breath expanded, and that first breath was what's known as first density, which are the elements, okay? So you have fire, water, earth, air, and ether, which is energy consciousness, right? So we have the original elements. It then breathed back into itself and it said, who else could I be? And it breathed out again into second density, which are the plants and the bugs and the animals and, you know, all of that frequency. And then it breathed back into itself, and then it breathed out again into third density, us as 3D humans, you know, birthing a consciousness. We are more than what animals are. We're not just instinctual. We have an awareness, and so on and so on and so on, breathing all of the densities. Now, why that's important is because a lot of people think of ascension as I need to raise my level of consciousness, okay? True. The more we raise our level of consciousness, the more we understand ourselves, but with distortions, okay? Because there is more to interpret. So the simplest mirror of God is nature. I always say, go back to first density. If you want to know who God truly is, go back to nature. And essentially, crystals are raw, right? They are literally directly from God. They mirror God's energy in this tiny little, I've got all these crystals around me right now, right? This tiny little crystal literally is infused with thousands and thousands, if not millions of years of energy encompassed in this. And as I hold it, and as I intend to receive from it, it offers me something in return. It's a beautiful exchange.
Yeah.
And I think that that's very powerful. So perfect segue, Adele. How do crystals, if this is something that you're aware of, how do crystals hold energy?
If we think about, I want to first say something back to what you said about when it was created, when like these were created. So if I read this and it's always stuck with me, and I think it's just so beautiful. And it was this little, give or take exactly my words, when the earth was created, or when this all began, right? There's the stars, and there's the moon, and then there's the sun, and then there's the entire galaxy. And then the earth cried out and said, I want some of your magic too. And then angels were sent to the earth, and their light being so strong struck into the earth and created all these beautiful gems. And I just love how angelic and sweet that little like sentence is, because the earth is so rich in itself, and we are such a reflection of, like, we have our own inner earth just as our external does. It's just, so if we think about how crystals actually hold energy, was that the question?
Mm-hmm.
So each crystal, I got a little section here where it's a little bit light, isn't it? But there's 7, just to represent the 7 that we know. The 7 that we know, and the easiest 7 to remember, chakras. If we think about each crystal holds its own vibration and frequency based on how it was actually created. So if I give you like 2 examples, let's say Moldavite just came to me probably because it's out of this world. So if we actually think about how that was created by a meteorite completely out of space hitting the earth coming into a completely different space and hitting this earth, and it's barely actually found now. I don't think it's in the earth at all. I think it's all been mined. And humans have now have beautiful pieces. It's either tektite, it's known as tektite, or moldavite, have these beautiful tiny pieces this small, have the ability to take us out of space and have outer space experiences, meaning we can meditate with that specific energy because it holds the energy of where the source, where it came from. So then there's completely other, if that made sense. So something it's the way that it was formed, it holds that energy, is my best way to explain it, because it's physically true. Yeah. So then if we go a complete other crystal and go, and not all crystals actually have a crystalline structure. So for example, like obsidian was formed so deep down in the earth, and it formed so quickly that it's like this solid rock. And then that brings the vibration of like such grounding, protective, deep energy because of the way that it was formed. And the frequency, we can feel the energy of each crystal if we just simply ask it. Sometimes we don't need to. I don't even refer to external sources like online too much anymore, because there's so much fake crystals now being man-made, and if we just look with our eye, we simply wouldn't even know the difference if we didn't feel it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think that, you know, so much was said there, right? Like, I want everyone that reads into these classes to read it between the lines. I think it's important to note that, first of all, you don't choose crystals, crystals choose you. I believe that my whole life. And I know a lot of people become crystal collectors, and I'm like, not necessary. You don't need that much energy in your home. You really don't. If you're called to experience them, you can. But the other thing about crystals is they may not live in your life forever. They come and they go, right? They come because you're called to receive the energy at a certain time, and then you let them go when it's time to let them go, right? It's everything that includes nature should be an equal exchange, meaning that when I need you and you make that offering, I accept you, and when it's time for me to give you back, I will. Okay. And it's important that I think humans, as we have evolved, we've disconnected from our tribal ancestors, which recognized community, okay, which recognized everything was shared, okay, and now it's like, this is mine and this is mine, and I'm going to hold it and possess it. But we don't possess these crystals. They are of the earth as we are, and we get to amplify what we already are by experiencing them temporarily, okay? And I think that there was so much profoundness there. And what you said about the crystalline structure, that's where crystals get their name from, because like microscopically, they have this crystalline structure. But there are certain stones which we call crystals that do not maintain the same kind of crystalline energy, but we recognize the power that exists within them. Selenite is a very interesting one, because selenite is not a traditional kind of crystal. It is considered the amplifier, and it literally it's self-cleansing. So you don't need to go put it out in the moonlight or anything like that. You don't need to cleanse it or sage it. It re-energizes itself, which says a lot about its makeup. And selenite is abundant, right? So there's lots of it as well. And that's why it's relatively cheap to receive. Whereas moldavite, on the other hand, is very expensive because it's more scarce.
Yeah.
It's interesting about diamonds. Diamonds are different, but diamonds traditionally were considered scarce, and that's where they got their value from. And over an evolutionary process, we've come to realize that they're not as scarce as they make them out to be. Okay, it's more about the way they are mined, which is dangerous and not very great for the planet. And that's why they still hold value. Okay, but the truth is they don't hold the same kind of energy. They still have a structure which offers an energy exchange, but you know, so do all crystals. I have this beautiful rose quartz here, whatever you're called to experience. So I love understanding, and I think you're right. I think that a lot of the time we go to Google to receive some kind of divine wisdom, but the divine wisdom literally resides within you. And if I let myself tune into that, the crystals will communicate with me. Okay, so we understand that crystals hold energy, which means that if I hold a crystal in my hand or in my person or in my space, I am allowing its resonance, its biophotonic energy that's being released by it, because it lives in this energy vortex, to be received by me. Okay, now what's important is this, is that if I don't believe in the healing and amplifying powers of crystals, they do not exist for me. It's very important to remember. It's not the same as gravity or the laws of the universe. Crystals require a belief. Okay, they require you to honor them, the same way that a ghost won't communicate with you unless you believe it's possible, the same way that you can't channel God unless you believe it's possible. Crystals are very much so the same. A lot of people just think that they're rocks, then they're just rocks to you. Okay, I think that's important. Let's go on a journey. Okay, let's go on a journey, because obviously you have a plethora of crystals in your experience, as do I, and I'm just curious to see how you use them in your medicine. Like, do you use them to help you heal? Do you use them in cooking? Obviously you use them in your hair clips to help balance chakra. How do you use them in your own medicine and practice?
Well, depending on, if we understand the type of crystals that we have, and I love how you said, like, we don't need to go crazy on you know, buying and collecting so many crystals. Like, I work with that many crystals that I have very, very little in the home. I work with them, but I'd rather have a powerful small piece than have a huge collection, because then they can start bouncing off each other and things can get crazy. So if we think about the intention that we have when we want to work with a crystal, we can use that intention to then find what crystal is going to, what energy of this crystal is going to help me with this intention that I have, because they're the tool, but you are the one that's going to be able to activate that and make it happen. It's not about holding this clear quartz and letting it do its thing by itself, because it won't. You need to have that relationship with it, the respect, you need to honor it, just as you said, where you have to believe in yourself and honor yourself to be able to move forward. Same with me stepping into a new identity. I just trust that I need to do it and I don't question anymore. And sometimes, so to first begin to go back to like working with them, I love working with them in come to my mind to say under my pillow, because that was probably one of the first things I ever did. If I had like an intention or something that I wanted to bring into my life, like before I met my partner, I would have like rose quartz, which is, you know, comes in so many different forms. Raw, exactly. See, you've got a polished and that's a raw. That's perfect, because I didn't have a polished one, and I wanted to say, see the difference. So, you know, I would have that by my bedside table, because rose quartz holds that very light, beautiful, angelic love, giving, receiving, understanding, bringing it in, letting it come out. It has that beautiful energy about it. So bringing it into the part of the home where you want to call that in makes so much sense, right? Because it's like, it's my bedroom. This is my sacred personal space where I want to call in a partner, or, you know, it doesn't even have to be a partner. It's your own self-love if you want that to be. So having that by your bedside table or under your pillow, and then, you know, sitting with it, meditating with it, your intention, letting it talk to you. Maybe it doesn't want to go under your pillow, because trust me, crystals have their own agenda. Because sometimes I'm creating with them, and no joke, like it's like there's a vortex which will suck a crystal up if it doesn't want me to work with it. Like I've been paid to create a crystal clip, and if someone goes against what the energy of that crystal wants and says, this is a good example because this happened multiple times to me. I don't design crystals ever. Like when I'm creating my crystal clips, I never make a design. It's always just whatever I'm drawn to, and whichever crystal's calling me that wants to be on that piece is on that piece. Because if I go against that and allow my mind to be like, oh, I'm going to design it this way because this is the way that I want it, I'm not working with the energy. I'm working with my analytical mind. It's nothing got to do with like the energy of crystals, because they don't have a mind. They're complete different beings. They are out of this world. So if someone has said to me once, for example, I want this placed here because I just like it there, that crystal has no joke disappeared, and I have no physical explanation of where it's gone because it just simply has its own agenda. So this is why we need to almost bow down to the crystal kingdom and be like, how can I be of service to you, and how can you be of service to me? It's this constant flow. And once we ask that question, then we can get a better understanding of where do you want to be placed, or what is my intention of using this crystal. So picking our crystals too is like, I love using my hands. My best antenna ever, my hands. So having a flow over the crystals just like this. If I'm in a store, always closing my eyes, because then I'm not picking with the color that I like, or by the beauty of, for example, some people are so drawn to pyrite. It's so glimmery and sparkly. Fool's gold is another word for it. But we can't underestimate the power of then something like a raw, unpolished crystal, which also holds so much power. So closing my eyes, not to judge and not to look at what it's showing me, but to just close my eyes and feel into it and be like, I feel like I'm going to stop here. My hand feels a little bit warm, and then picking up a crystal and being like, okay, and then going from there almost.
Perfect. Listen to that, everyone. That's your antenna. That is your compass. Your higher self is always trying to communicate with you. It is always communicating with you. It's up to us to be receptive, okay, to receive. And so your body naturally knows what it needs to balance, whether it be through food, whether it be through plants, by regional medicine, whether it be through people, whether it be through experiences, personas, identities, etc. Crystals are included in that. It knows what it needs and what it doesn't need. This is if you're in this space. If you're watching this class, you're already in this space, right? So you're already very much so a mystic and ready to explore this world. So crystals do choose you. But you're right, we are biased because we allow our ego and our desire and pleasure state to interfere. And this crystal's beautiful and this one is not. And so I don't want to experience that. And yet sometimes the one that you perceive as ugly is the one that is most required by you.
Exactly.
For a number of reasons, right? So I too enjoy that. And you'll notice Adele said you'll feel a warmth. It may be a warmth, it may be a tingling sensation, it may be like a shake. Tune into your body and know how your body communicates, right? And some will actually feel the opposite. Some will make you feel a little bit sick and nauseous because your body is rejecting that energy. You may already, not because it's a bad crystal, but you may already have too much of that specific energy in the body, so it doesn't. Like, when they say when you taste metal in your mouth, you already have too much iron in the body. Your body communicates with you, and so does the energetic body. So that's amazing. What I'd really love to explore now, because we're getting the idea of choosing the crystals, letting them choose us, tuning into the energy of them. They are obviously very potent and magic. Oh, another thing I will amplify that Adele mentioned is how to use them. So she mentioned, like, you can use them just in your space, like under your pillow, in your pocket, on your person, in your bra, in your undies, in tinctures,
so much more to it.
Going into clothes, on crystal clips or whatever, okay? But you can also choose them for specific spaces as well. So I know like some rooms require certain crystals and other rooms don't, okay? But again, it will communicate with you as you start to develop a relationship, not only with the crystal, but with yourself and your space. You will know what is calling you. Also, when I gift crystals to friends, I tap into their energy field and I ask what crystal is required from them, okay? And it will literally drop down into me and I will know. Having said that though, I do feel that there are some basic crystals, the OGs, the ones that I feel
100%.
universal, and I'd love to explore that with you. So which do you feel are the basic toolkit for a beginner in crystals?
Basic toolkit, selenite. Definitely selenite around the home. I seen you the other day on your stories, sprinkle the selenite dust, which if you have too much selenite or if you grab selenite, you can easily also just ask for that when you go into crystal shops. Can I have your leftover selenite dust? Because they're chopping it in there already. So you can get that anytime. But definitely selenite, because if you're in this space, you're already someone that is a high intuitive, or you pick up a lot, you feel the weight of the world, but you also know that it's not yours, and you have this beautiful tool to shine the light constantly and offer you its protection. Definitely rose quartz. So selenite rose quartz is such an essential crystal, probably one of my first ones. Black tourmaline, onyx, obsidian, those three black crystals, very similar in properties. Clear quartz is definite as well. And I would say, yeah, I love how you've got different forms, because it's so nice to have, if you're getting different, like these beginner crystals, to have different forms of them, because like then you'll be able to understand more of a difference between like raw form, polished, points. Every single like different shape has then its different meaning, which is going even like deeper into the crystals. But definitely like an amethyst as well. So I would say almost we kind of want to have one for every type of energy that our already energy or body system has. So like I have here a little example of like the 7 chakras. So I've got like kunzite as my crown, third eye amethyst, lapis as my throat, and then heart, we can go between your rose quartz. I've got chrysoprase there, citrine, and then calcite, and then I've got vanadinite and red jasper. So these are all crystals then, you know, our base chakra, our sacral chakra, crystals that relate to different chakras that then we can place on our body if we feel called to. So like I think I would have, as a beginner, a crystal for every part of the chakra if you feel called to that, because then you have a range to explore and be like, oh, this feels very light, and this feels like I understand now what it means, because why it's for the crown. And then going, oh yeah, this one is really deep, and this one is, you know, vanadinite is one of the only crystals that is used for sexuality, and for if you hold any, you know, shame around that, or if you are not in touch with your sexual energy, your divine feminine energy, this is like a crystal that you would use. So you get to understand, if you have one of almost every color, and then there's different tones, but one of almost every color, you have a bit of an understanding of the different energies that crystals can hold.
Love that. So we will have all of this written in the workbook as well. So just to reiterate, I too agree with that list. So I think the selenite, clear quartz to me, and let me explain the quick meanings, right? So selenite is basically your clarifier. It offers protection, but it also purifies energy. It also allows the divine wisdom, and it's self-charging. So it basically helps charge all the rest of your crystals. So I like to also have this on all corners of my house because it offers a protection dome, right? So we have selenite as our first. Then my favorite crystal is clear quartz. And the reason why clear quartz is my favorite is because I feel it's the transmuter and the purifier. It takes on the intention I will for it, because it is essentially a bear. okay, energy. And so if I say I want you to offer me protection, it does. If I say I want you to align me with love, it does. If I say I want you to align me with abundance, it does. It really takes on any energy you infuse. But then the flip side of that is it requires cleansing, okay, because it will literally absorb energy, okay. But I do feel that this too in your toolkit. Then you have the beautiful rose quartz that was mentioned. Rose quartz is a beautiful heart expander. Okay, so anything that amplifies love. And as Adele mentioned, the color does matter, because if you were to take red jasper, for example, red jasper is known as the passionate lover's crystal, right? It's a bit seductive and promiscuous. Okay, whereas rose quartz offers a very different energy. It's more in the feminine and softer. Okay, so depending what kind of energy you want to tap into, rose quartz is not just for romantic love, it's also self-love, it's also universal love, it's also love with God. Okay, so it takes on a lot of energy. So I love rose quartz around, because it just keeps the love light. Black tourmaline, one of my favorites, but all of the black crystals that you mentioned. For me personally, I went through an onyx stage and then an obsidian and now a black tourmaline. So I'm moving. And you know, you will evolve and shift, but for now it's black tourmaline is the protector. It also calls in your angels, your spirit guides, your ancestors to be present of protection. Amethyst, third eye expander. It is also, amethyst is my anchor stone. So it's the crystal, sorry. It's the one that brings me back down to the 3D. Because don't forget, the more we do this work, everything in spirit school, we are working from these 2 chakras. Okay. The problem with that is that when we do too much of that work, we get lost in them. Okay. And although amethyst represents the third eye chakra, it is also very raw in its right? So it does anchor you back down. It's heavy, it's dense, it's rigid, right? And it to me offers an anchor back down into the 3D world. So I really enjoy it. And I would agree, having one for each chakra. Now, if in doubt, like you know, Adele mentioned lots of different names and you may or may not have heard of them. What's important is at first, just go by color. Okay, just go by color at first, one for each of the chakras. So each of the chakras have a color assigned to them, and you can choose a crystal that aligns with that color. That's the beginner's guide, right? That would be your beginner's toolkit, which gives you enough introduction into this space. Now let's go a level deeper, right? Now let's really try to understand, as Adele said, everything has to be intentional, okay? We don't just pick crystals like, you know, with no intention behind it. They have to serve us in some way. So let's say I am really focused, like Adele mentioned, she wanted to call in a partner. She wanted to call in love. And so she did have some rose quartz underneath her pillow. Now, the truth is crystals also have a relationship with each other, okay? And they can amplify each other's energy if we so desire, which adds to the potency of them. So we're going to create a few little kits for you, okay, today. And we're not doing it from a place of this is what we found on Google. We're internal Google, right? This is divine wisdom being channeled through us. So I'm going to give you a list of 4 different main areas in life that most people often want to tap into. And let's just create anywhere between 3 to 5 crystals that would be perfect for that kind of amplification or intention. Okay, so let's start with love, and specifically romantic love. So if a client came to you and said, listen, I want to amplify romantic love in my life, what are some crystals that will allow me to do it? And you're thinking outside of the box, because you are the energy wisdom. Okay, so you know that it's never just about love, it's also about the divine feminine expression, it's also about self-confidence, it's also about sacral chakra work, it's also about heart chakra work.
You actually just said exactly what I was thinking, like exactly.
Right,
because when you said
right, so all right, so let's start with romantic love. What crystals would you recommend as a little toolkit that you can keep in a little pouch, or you know, in the space as a collective to amplify that?
Well, I 100% believe it's about the love that you've got for yourself, but then that you allow to give out to anyone, to a stranger, to the person walking down the street. It's about your love language and the way that you love to love life, the way that you love to love yourself, your family, all these things. So having definitely very soft, beautiful greens like green aventurine, rose quartz, definitely. Chrysoprase is really beautiful. It's a very deeper green, which I have a tiny little baby one here. And moonstone, I would definitely say moonstone, because it's so like it represents, your own ability to see your internal shine. I don't know if that shine's going to come on the camera, but it's a beautiful stone to come inside to your divine feminine and feel how powerful you are to call in anything you want, because you need to come from that place when you really want love, because it's not going to come from up here. It's going to come from like more down here, more of your ability, because these chakras, like your solar plexus and your base chakra, is a place where you're calling in almost physically things that you want to bring in. Here is more like you said, we're going up, we're like up the woo, we're a little bit in the clouds and we're coming up and bringing things in. But when they come in, here is where they come out. Here is where we are able to actually bring them in physically. So working from here down, I definitely feel like also having crystal kyanite, I feel like is a really beautiful one too, because it's very angelic. And it's a crystal that will help you communicate that desire and speak about, that's the, so kyanite, so let's just talk about the colors again. So a green, pinks, very soft green, pinks, and soft blues, and did I miss any? Oh, and a clear, like we clear quartz in anything because it amplifies your intention already. So definitely clear quartz. And a point, just to touch on all of that, definitely a point inside your kit, because the point has the rainbow, just caught me off guard. You just get lost in crystals. So the points, well, it's pointing to the universe. So that already gives us the message that it's going up and it's bringing back like what we're desiring. So if you have like a crystal on any part of your body, even the point is like channeling in energy, if we're putting it this way, to channel into our body. And then if we turn it the other way, it's releasing and bringing it out. So that's another beautiful thing about a point, because it offers, it's amplified.
Absolutely. In a way. It's like a wand. Like if you have a wand, the reason why you use wands, it literally it creates a vortex of energy and it moves it in a very powerful direction. Love that. So it sounds to me like, if and again, this isn't about us to teach you specifically about crystals. It's about allowing you to trust yourself that the divine wisdom resides within you, right? I always say, no one is your guru, right? You are your own guru, and you get to really tap into the wisdom that lives within you. But if you're exploring love, romantic love, so there was a lot of pastel energy there. So there's a lot of softness, a lot of soft colors, soft crystals, the moonstone iridescence, right? Because any kind of romantic connection calls for the earthly connection and also calls for a spiritual connection, right? It's not just the physical, it's also this beautiful intellectual and spiritual energy.
Sorry.
That's okay. Adele cut out for a second. It's this beautiful spiritual energy as well. So I love moonstone because you're right, it has those flickers of iridescence and even like these soft, beautiful rainbows that you imagine that the angels would explore, right? Okay, so we have this beautiful kit for love. Go.
Yeah. And I was gonna say, and then it's so dependent, because then like it depends on almost like the energy is similar between people, but age is a very big like it also depends on your age, because then if like for my mum, like for example, she would be like, I would prefer like a red jasper, more like sensual, more sexual, more like those tones. So that's the opposite side. But if we're talking about like, so it's always so dependent. This is why like it so depends on who you are.
And that plays a huge role in these little kits that you create, because I too, like Adele is my sister's age, whereas I'm in my 30s. So my intentions for love will probably be different. You know what I mean? So I would probably have a lot more protection stones around, because for me it's not as playful, it's a little bit more serious, right, when it comes to what my intentions were. Although Adele's in a serious relationship now, right? But when she was intending for it, it came from a youthful energy. Whereas me intending for it now would be different of how I would intend it if I was in my early 20s, right? It would be different kind of energy because of who I am now. And your mum as well, different generation, you know, tapping into different energy. Like I know a lot of people, Tiger's Eye. Tiger's Eye is a protector. It's a very good one to assign with love as well, because it anchors energy, right? So it makes sure that it's not just this, we go on some love affair. It's like, can it also be integrated in the 3D, right? So it's like, you know, again, the different crystals will call you. Okay, so we have this beautiful, and your personality. Like if you're a traveler, I'm a malachite girl, right? Like malachite to me,
I love malachite.
Something that I want to draw in. And if I want that in a connection, I would include malachite in that little kit. Do you know what I mean? Because it's travel stone. So, you know, it depends what you're called to. And again, we may be aware of the meanings, but you learn them and they communicate with you. So you don't even need to know, because a lot of people will say to me, this stone's for this, and yet I use it for something completely different, right?
Exactly.
So it will form its own relationship with you. And then the same as Adele mentioned, the crystals that I have in the raw forms versus the polished forms also offer me different energy, because don't forget, the more polished, the more processed, the more hands that have touched it, right? So the less raw they are in their essence. That doesn't mean it dilutes its potency. It just means that it may hold a different frequency. Okay. All right. So we have this beautiful love one. Now let's talk about the money, honey. All right. If someone wants to call in the money, what are the money crystals?
Definitely pyrite.
Definitely.
Pyrite is so abundant. Like the sparkle on it, it's just like what comes to me is like, it's the person that is like, I'm not sorry for, it feels no shame. It's not sorry for being a billionaire. Like it's like shining its fullest light, and it's like, bring me the abundance. And definitely pairing it with citrine is my favorite, because citrine is like that orangey yellow tone that's like so alive, and just so it's not like it's nothing about citrine is like dull. It's like, boom, let's get into it. It's just like it's like your best friend that's like hyping you up. So these two are my favorite. What else would I say? I'd probably say, and clear quartz with it, but those three are probably my favorite. And I'd also say too, if you can get onto, I really want to talk about this part with citrine. This is a natural citrine, so the color of it is very like, it's brown, it's very translucent as well, and this is heat treated a little bit, so you can see how it's more deeper in its color to try and bring out its tone. But to have natural citrine has such a different energy of it as well, like you said, with the polish and raw. So if we can source our crystals from places where we know that they're treated well, they're ethical, then we get to have that energy too. But for money and abundance, I would definitely say those two, and Herkimer diamond. And because Herkimer diamond has like that, the word diamond in it offers, it's like, it's flashy and it's abundant, and it's like, and it's just like, and it's a reflection as well. So it's like, you ask Herkimer diamond to, where is my little Herkimer diamond? But anyway, if you ask Herkimer diamond, you know, I want you to help me see that part within me that is showing any shadow or any trauma or anything that is like struggling me to get to that point where I want to create more money. It will. And if you use all of those crystals together, they'll all work with each other to amplify your intention.
Absolutely.
Because essentially crystals also are like showing you parts. It's not all sunshine and rainbows, because they're also showing you, if you ask, they will show you, and they'll show you parts of yourself, or a little seed will come into your mind and be like, I've never thought about that before. And it'll be something from maybe your childhood that has made you think till you're 20 years that that's blocking you from making money. So these things are like, will come up for you and and they will help you in their own way.
Absolutely. So they offer medicine. And I think it's important to note that when we are creating these little toolkits, it's not just the crystals that represent the intention. So, to me, any green crystal will represent money, and, pyrite as well, because, like it symbolizes to me like gold. It's flashy. It's like exuberant.
Jade, green jade. Yes.
Yeah,
well.
so exactly. Jade is a huge money one, right? So anything that symbolizes money, that's part of the toolkit, okay? But then you need the other energies surrounding it. So you need the illuminator, any crystal that will reveal to you the shadows, right? The blocks that reside within. Then you want confidence boosters to make you have a better relationship. So that's where you have citrine. I also say carnelian. To me, carnelian is the best, confidence booster in my world. So to me, 100%. I would say that in a money intention, okay? To make sure that I feel worthy of money and abundance, because if I just am intending for money, but I have all of these blocks and resistance to money, I don't feel worthy of it, I'm not confident, I don't step into my power, then I'm not going to form a relationship with money. It's also why lately I've got these here. Where are they? These to call in a partner. You have your carnelian and you have your rose quartz, because rose quartz is love, but carnelian allows you to step into the energy of I fully and completely love and accept myself. So because of that, I'm mirroring that energy. So they go really well together, right? So I think it's important to note that crystals are medicine. So use them as such, because they will reveal things to you. I know when I first got my moldavite, I was like, a lot of people go through a dark night of the soul with moldavite, because it is, as you said, it's galactic, right? It calls upon you to shift to higher frequencies. Because I do this work on the regular, I didn't have that experience. For me, it was very much the opposite. I found it made everything better in my world, right? I had better sleep, better dreams, more abundance, more opportunities. I was moving through things quite quickly. So a lot of the power of crystals will depend on where you are at on your journey as well, okay? And that's why you shift and evolve through different crystals. So don't be afraid to get rid of them if they're just like, this isn't serving me anymore, or I don't need this in my space. Now, cleansing crystals. What are your recommendations on releasing energy from crystals?
What you just said, where you said, if you don't need it anymore, don't be afraid to get rid of them. Put them back in the earth. That's something that instead of you don't always have to gift it to anyone else, but just like, or putting it in a plant outside. It's like one of my favorite things. Or taking it and putting it in the ocean. Like, just return it back to its state and return it back to nature. No, never in the bin.
No, never in the bin. No,
never ever.
Never in the bin. No, we don't throw
no, because generally, like, people will not know like what to do with them, because like so like back to its state, back to nature.
And even if it breaks, not in the bin. If it breaks, it served its purpose. Like black tungsten often break, give it back to the earth, as you said. Like
exactly,
recycle it back.
Like crystals that break, I just sprinkle in my I actually reuse, like, all the crystals that I use are all little, little bits that people often think, what can I do with that? Like, they're kind of the cut-offs, and they're the meh, I don't care crystals, kind of, because people like want crystals that are like, big polished shiny ones or whatever. So I work with those, but so I'm used to it, and I just sprinkle them in little pot plants. But every crystal has its own way of like cleansing it. Like you said, you wouldn't dip selenite in water or put it in water to bathe, because it doesn't need its self-cleansing. But if clear quartz, like one that you mentioned before, is one that does need to clear. So everyone's different. Like, a lot of people love the moon, depending, like, every single thing comes into play of the way how you use crystals and what you need. Your star sign, what planets and the movements of the sun, the moon, what's in your birth chart. Like, are you more fiery? What sign are you, not sign, sorry, what like I've got a lot of fire in my chart, obviously, because I'm a Leo, but I'm also like, I might be lacking some earth energy, so then I'm more drawn to earth crystals. So the way you use them is so dependent on who you are. So we are like literally just a guide for you to explore what you're drawn to. So clear quartz, like I tend to go towards the sun, because I just love the way that the sun is so energizing, and it's so like it's so warm, and it's like a big hug So I put my crystals in the sun if it needs to. Because of my crystal clips, if I'm wearing outside, I know that the job is done and I don't need to do anything because I'm already outside. But using the sun, using the moon for different crystals, like for moonstone, I literally put that in the moon because it's more of a deeper energy that requires that like reflection, just like the moon does. It's very like they reflect nature. It's like as above, so below. And then what else? Other methods, definitely water. Like before I work with them, if you even want to work with like crystal chips or crystals like that are polished crystals are fine to go, most of them anyway, to go inside water. And then also, you know, covering your hands over the top, cleansing them, and doing a little prayer for yourself, for example, whatever's coming to me now. You know, thank you for allowing me to have you in my life, and asking the crystal, you know, this is now your home. Thank you for choosing me. I'm looking forward to working with, like, whatever comes to you to say, have a little prayer in the water, cleanse it, and, you know, place it, if you want to place it in your heart, or place it around you, probably I'd say for like when you first have it, so then you can develop like the relationship with the crystal. Don't like take it from the shop and then just like chuck it at home, because it's not really.
Those who have watched the classes, we always recommend crystals be placed on your altar for at least 30 days, because that way they start to, as you said, like build a relationship with you. Nothing, not even a card deck should come from the store and to use, right? Like it needs to, you know, you need to offer space. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely that. 100%. So yeah, sun, moon, water, and you know, air as well. Like sometimes I just blow, simply like it's what comes to you. If you feel like apart from the side where you can't dip certain crystals in you know, water, just go with what comes to you. Like sometimes I just like, it doesn't need to be cleansed and I just want to give it a blow, and sometimes I just want to have it outside, and I have this thing where I do that generally anyway. Like I do that like when I get a glass out. I don't know what it is about me, but when I get a glass out and before I put water into it, I'll just blow into it. Like it's always just like constantly like, or even clicking. Like it's anything that comes to you at that time, you just simply do it, because, and don't question it with your mind being like, that's weird, why am I doing that? It's just like that crystal talking to you, or sources like, I just want you to do it, and just don't question it and let it be.
Absolutely. And let it be an intuitive journey. Let it be an intuitive process. Now, a few things I would add. I also think that sound healing, so sound bowls and the crystals, also smudging, right? So whether it be sage, Palo Santo, any bioregional, dried herbs, we're going to use as well. Also, clearing spray. So if you use the Infinite You clearing energy spray, that helps clear crystals. I think it's important to note that crystals don't actually need cleansing the way that they're marketed to need cleansing.
100%.
Crystals have lived in the earth for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. So when we've used them 5 times, that doesn't mean that they need to go out in the full moon and bathe, right? Only if you're called to give the crystals some space, and it will tell you, because it will feel diluted, okay? It won't feel as potent when you're using it. That's when you go and cleanse. Now, a really good indicator as to whether a crystal is real or not, all real crystals will feel cold when you pick them up, okay? If they feel warm, chances are they got plastic in them. When you're using them, however, like I pick up this cold crystal and it's cold. Once I start using it, that's when it may build its warmth, right? Because it's starting to activate the frequency in it. But, you know, going back to the cleansing isn't required. But if you feel called to cleanse, then do. Same with, you know, I know specifically they say full moons for cleansing, okay? And that includes crystals. But if it's a half moon and your crystal's being called to go sit outside, let it, right? Exactly. Sun, be mindful though, any that can be in water and also in the sun, because some may crack in the sun. Like opal doesn't like sunshine.
Exactly.
Right. So you know, opal doesn't even like to be worn that often because it needs rest time. Okay, so like I'm October baby, so for me, you know, opal's my birthstone, so I have a good relationship with opal, but it does require rest, okay, away from the person, because it just needs time for itself. So let the crystals communicate with you. I hope that was everything you need to start building a relationship with crystals. How you use them in your practice will be through so many different modalities. You know, for Reiki, when we talked about the Reiki class, you know, through tinctures, even through food on your person, in your spells and your magic practices. But how you use them again will come from an intuitive download. It will drop down into you and the wisdom lives through you. Okay, so start forming a relationship. Go into a crystal store, do as Adele said, scan the crystals, eyes closed, let them communicate with you, and you'll know when it's time to buy a crystal. Now, what's important though, if a crystal calls you, buy it. It's one of my biggest rules. I don't care if you got the money, you don't got the money, you got the time, or whatever. If a crystal calls you, buy it. There's a reason. Okay. So trust the intuitive nudges. This was amazing. There will be all of these activities in the workbook to start building your own little crystal kits. The next class is on crystal grids, so you will specifically learn how to use them in grid formation as well.
Yeah.
This was amazing. Thank you, Adele, for your beautiful wisdom and for sharing your time and energy with us, because, you know, Adele uses crystals all the time. So it's really nice to connect with people who do use crystals every day. They are incredible and underutilized, but also over marketed, overexposed, but underutilized, right? Like their potency
100%.
is really used, and they're never offered enough reverence. Okay, and we don't need a lot of them. We need a little in an intentional way. So this was a beautiful class. Thank you for being present with us. I have all of Adele's information in the workbook. Do you have something else you wanted to say, Adele?
No, I'm just holding this as you said that, because it reminded me that you know, so much reverence, so much like so humbling. Like from the naked eye, we would be like, it's just a rock. And then we'd turn around and be like, wow, oh my God, like look at that beauty. Like it reminds you to look into yourself and see your own beauty. And it's just so humbling to be able to work with the Crystal Kingdom. So enjoy just using your intuition to lead the way.
Amazing. Thank you all so much for being here. I will see you on the next class. Enjoy the fun work and blessings abound.